Well, I really want to thank you for attending our meeting today. We've got so much to share and so many new surprises for you.
Thank you, Sally.
What?
So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sonoma County ADA Transition Plan Update Meeting. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Neha Singh, EEO Manager and the ADA Coordinator for the County of Sonoma. People who would like to join the ASL American Sign Language, there is a globe button at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that, you can choose the ASL option. Let's begin with a brief message from Julie, our Spanish interpreter from our Spanish-speaking viewers. Julie.
Thank you, Neha. Good evening. This will be a bilingual message. Muy buenas noches. Bienvenidos a la reunión. Este será un mensaje bilingüe. Esta reunión se está interpretando simultáneamente al español. Si quiere escuchar en español, haga clic en el icono del globo al pie de la página o en los tres puntitos donde dice More o más y elija el idioma de su preferencia. Si quiere hacer un comentario o una pregunta en español, esta será traducida al inglés. This meeting will be interpreted simultaneously into Spanish. If you'd like to hear any Spanish comments interpreted into English, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and choose the English channel. Thank you. Back to you, Neha.
Thank you, Julie. We are joined today by a panel of experts, Sally Swanson, Principal and CEO of Sally Swanson Architects, and her team member, Chris Sarcello, Facility Specialist, Dennis Duran, GIS and Database Specialist, our County Council, and staff from Sonoma County Public Infrastructure Department. We have Spanish translator Julie Burns and Lorna Silva with us. We have Janice Evans for American Sign Language Interpretation Service. We have muted everyone on the call to remove any background noise. Please note, disruptive public commenters will be asked to stop and will be subsequently removed from the meeting if the disruptive behavior continues. To assure civility in its public meeting, the public is encouraged to engage in respectful dialogue that supports freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. County staff and members of the public are expected to establish and maintain a cordial and respectful atmosphere during discussions and foster meaningful dialogue free of personal attacks. We are here to give you an update on the ADA transition plan for the Sonoma County. Today, we will be providing a presentation on the county's efforts to evaluate the accessibility of sidewalks, curb ramps, bus stops, parking spaces, and other county-owned sites. Members of the Sonoma County Public Infrastructure and Human Resources Departments will outline proposed solutions and gather community feedback on how the county should prioritize nearly 5,000 sites for remediation. At the end, we have made time to answer your questions. The feedback form was opened on September 19th, 2 weeks before today's meeting, and will remain open for another 2 weeks until October 17. So you can review the updated transition plan and provide us any feedback you have. Once we receive Sorry about that. The feedback form was opened on September 19, 2 weeks before today's meeting, and will remain open for another 2 weeks until October 17. So you can review the updated transition plan and provide us any feedback you have. Once we receive the feedback, members of the ADA committee will review those and make all appropriate changes to finalize the plan. The ADA committee will then submit the final transition plan to the Board of Supervisors for approval. Now let's turn to our experts for the updated information on the ADA transition plan. We will start with Sally Swanson. Sally.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you for being here today to review our plan with you. It's complicated. So if you have any questions, or I don't really understand that, we want you to talk and share it at the end of the presentation. I'm Sally Swanson, principal in charge of Sally Swanson Architects, and have focused on accessibility for the last 40 years. We're so excited to have Chris Cirillo with us as well. He's a brilliant engineer. He's a brilliant CAST surveyor. He really understands the environment and comes up with some wonderful accessible solutions. He's also a joy to work with. And I would like to talk to you about Dr. Denise Turan. She's a specialist in GIS. She formatted the plan, she shared the plan, and she's wonderful to work with. We really want to thank you, Denise, for being on board. Next slide, please. So this is our agenda. Neha and I are going to share this presentation together today. And thank you, Neha, for joining us. We'll have an introduction. We'll talk about our approach and methodology. We'll give some highlights about a transition plan. And of course, a map of survey data, up and coming remediation efforts. And we hope that you'll have some questions and answer. That makes it a lot more fun to give this presentation. So why ADA? It was interesting when I started with Ed Roberts. I don't know if you remember Ed Roberts in the 70s. We felt that everybody needed to participate. And I felt very strongly about that everybody gets the chance to participate in our society successfully. I was really excited with ADA because it was firm, it was direct. You had to make your programs, services, and activities accessible. This is something I believe in very strongly. Next slide, please. So what are the requirements? What is it all about? You have to look at your facilities. Once again, you make your programs, services, and activities accessible, and you strive and you open up your arms to create an accessible environment. You want to have effective communication, program access. Your construction should be easy to deal with. All your additions should be accessible, as well as your alterations. And you should confirm with the current codes. I think it's an attitude. And I'm so excited to work with Sonoma County. It's been so excited that they took our information and ran with it and developed it and made it very successful. I want to thank you for that. Next slide, please. Just want to talk about the transition plan process. You survey the built environment and you identified all the barriers and the hazards. You prioritize. Hey, you gotta hit this first. It's really a hazard. And you plan. It's a planning document. And that's, once again, I'm saying why it's been so enjoyable working with Neha and her team, that they took this information, used it, suggested it, and brought it to a reality. And of course, you appoint an official to administrate the plan. And I'd like to acknowledge Neha. Thank you so much. And with that, I would like to send it over to Chris.
Thanks, Sally. So in order to provide a mitigation method, we look to our facility survey, where we identified and described each problem or barrier to access. Next, we suggest a solution or a way to alter the element to comply with the codes and standards. And we provide a quantity of how many items that are out of compliance and a conceptual cost based on that quantity. Here is a diagram of a typical facility with typical elements that are encountered when arriving at and accessing a facility. Bus stops, sidewalks, curb ramps, parking spaces, and the accessible route to the entrance, and then into the interior of a facility. My job is to measure the built environment for compliance. I show up to a facility at the site entrance and work my way to the parking and entrance, measuring for compliance and documenting barriers along the way. The priorities are based on the location. Priority 1 being locations that are the most used, like accessible routes and
Son los
primary
lugares de
functions.
más uso, las rutas accesibles.
And 4 being the least used or being employee only.
Y se da
spaces
un
and
rango de
elements.
4 a lo que menos se usa en el
The
espacio
severity
disponible.
score is given a rating
Entonces,
of 1
la
through
puntuación
4.
de gravedad va de un
1
rango de
being
1 a 4.
possibly dangerous issues like tripping
1
hazards
es
or head bumping
posiblemente
hazards.
peligroso, un lugar donde alguien se puede tropezar.
Apologies, this is the sign language interpreter. I'm hearing
La,
the interpreter at the same time.
Yeah,
And the
so
interpretation
am I.
is gone.
How would you
Alright.
like to handle this? I mean, how would you like, should we
Let me
say?
step in and get this, see if I can get this straightened out. Okay, let's proceed and see if that works, please.
Okay. So the priorities are based on the location. Priority 1 being locations that are the most used, like accessible routes and primary functions. And 4 being the least used or being employee-only spaces and elements. The severity score is given a rating of 1 through 4. 1 being possibly dangerous issues like tripping hazards or head bumping hazards, and 4 being issues that are nearly compliant. Next slide, please. This slide shows an example page of our report where we identify barriers. On this page, we identify from the top down the facility name, the room name, the action name or element name, and the action solution to the identified barrier. Below that, we have a detailed as-built description, an as-built measurement, the code citations, and the priority and severity of the barrier. Next slide. This slide is another example of a finding or barrier that I found. In this case, a doorknob that requires grasping and twisting to operate, which is given a severity score of 2 because it may possibly prevent people from opening the door. Denise?
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. For public rights of way, we surveyed 4 elements, namely the bus stops all over the county, sidewalks, pedestrian signals, and the curb ramps. After we completed the survey on the field, we used a 2-part scoring system to rank the priorities for each barrier. The first one is called the activity score, which is dependent on the frequency of pedestrian use. According to this scoring system, elements with the most foot traffic will receive the highest score of 100, whereas the elements with the lowest foot traffic will receive the lowest score of 0. In this scoring, the idea is that a barrier will get more priority if it is likely to receive more pedestrian traffic. The second scoring system is called the barrier score, which is dependent on the current federal and state ADA standards. A barrier that is potentially hazardous will get the highest score of 100, whereas a barrier which is close to the ADA standards will receive a score closer to 0. And overall, the summation of these two scoring systems will give us the final priority score for each barrier. And when calculating the activity scoring, we took into consideration several different categories. These categories are county attractors, schools, parks, transit stops, such as a train station or an airport, medical and social centers, population, especially the senior population, and finally, the arterial and collector streets. This is a sample page from one of our probe reports. This particular one is showing a perpendicular curb ramp. On the left-hand side, we have the orientation, the type of the curb ramp, and the cross streets at the top of the page. And again, on the left-hand side, right below the type of the curb ramp, we highlight the most severe issue of this particular barrier, followed by the as-built description and the proposed solution. Towards the middle of the page, we list the associated federal and state ADA codes and attach a conceptual cost and the final priority score. At the bottom of the page, we have two pictures describing showing the barrier. And on the right-hand side, we have all the measurements taken during the survey. The numbers in red represent the issues that are out of compliance, whereas the black prints are showing the in-compliance attributes of this certain curb ramp. And with that, I leave it to Neha.
Thank you, Denise. This slide is about ADA transition plan. This link is a whole new website about ADA transition plan. When you click on this link, you can see a lot of information related to 2024 transition plan here in PDF, Excel, and in GIS map. You can also complete the feedback form from this website. This feedback form is only related to 2024 transition plan. This transition plan has the same data as the GIS map, Excel sheet, and the PDF document. Next slide, please. Next slide is about GIS map. Sonoma County has created a GIS map, which is a user-friendly map, looks like a Google map. When you open that map, it gives you all instructions on how to use it. You can put filters on it to narrow down your search. This map really assists county in prioritizing remediation projects as well as very helpful for the public. The GIS map has the same data as of transition plan in PDF, Excel, but this is the simplest version of the data and more visualized. With this map, we can compare multiple facilities or public right-of-way to recognize their barriers and their priority. Next slide, please. This next slide shows a snip of GIS map of curb ramps to show how it looks like when you open any sign. This blue sign is for the curb ramps. It shows the barrier ID, priority score, description of barrier, and estimated cost. Next slide, please. This slide shows a snip of bus stops in the green color. You can also zoom in and out the map. Next slide. This slide shows sidewalk. The green on sidewalks are the trees. The GIS map categorizes the barriers on a priority basis, and the priority shows by scores, numbers, not by low, medium, or high. Please refer to the PDF online to find out how we did the scoring for priorities. You can use filters for priority-wise and location-wise, such as bus stops, sidewalks. This map has a barrier ID number, barrier description, also shows sign for sidewalks, bus stops as green, curb ramps in blue, and pedestrian signals. This GIS map is a very convenient for county and the public to go through search by putting filters and prioritize which project they need to remediate first. Next slide, please. This slide is for our upcoming remediation efforts. These are the county-wide projects, like sidewalk is in county jurisdiction and there are multi-year projects. But we are working on minor things as well as if those can be remediating a lot sooner without delaying for too long. For the Meredith Pier, there is new surfacing needs to be installed for safe access. Kitchen needs to be upgraded for the ADA compliance on Sebastopol and Cloverdale Veterans Building. Countywide sidewalk assessment and minor repairs. Installing deductible warnings pavers on 2 intersections for visually impaired. Accessibility improvement at County Park, especially which are in high use. Next slide, please. Here is the link to submit any feedback related to the transition plan. Please remember this feedback form is only related to the transition plan, not for other ADA grievances or ADA requests. By completing this feedback form, please let us know if you have any priority change request for any barrier listed in the GIS map, Excel sheet or PDF, or if there is any barrier which you think is not listed in the transition plan and you want us to consider adding that barrier as well. The form will remain open for 2 weeks after this public meeting. After 2 weeks, this feedback form won't be available. Once we receive the feedbacks, we will review, assess, and adjust the priority if we feel the need to shift. After that, we will be presenting the final transition plan to the Board of Supervisors for their approval. Here is the contact information for the County ADA Coordinator with phone number and email address. You can also use this QR code to get this information. The second link takes you to submit any ADA request or grievance to the Sonoma County ADA Coordinator. This is not related to the transition plan. Once you submit the form, it will come to my email box. Next slide, please. I know you many may have many questions and concerns on the information we provided with the presentation today. If you have any question about the presentation or how to submit the feedback, you can please enter your question in the question and answer box showing at the bottom of the screen.
I mean, one of the
Again,
things
the feedback form also remains open until October 17. So you will have 2 more weeks to review the transition plan. Sorry, someone was saying something.
I think I was just saying thank you. Any questions? Because we really want people to participate. I mean, you've done an incredible job pulling all this information together and putting it in a very simple format, very readable. So let's get some questions going.
So I believe we all panelists can open the Q&A box and see if there is any question related to your arena. So, and if you can answer now, or we can answer in response to the feedback.
Yeah, there are some questions in the chat box. Have you seen them?
Yes, I am reviewing those. So one question is from Richard Scaff asking, are you making a copy of tonight's Zoom meeting? I'm asking that the Zoom meeting will be available for viewing at some time in the future. Thank you, Richard, for the question. Yes, we have a recording on for both versions, for English and Spanish. And very soon we will be uploading these recorded meetings on the YouTube channel and on our ADA website. Thank you for the question.
Do we have it, Nina? Do we have anybody raising their hand? Can we see that or not?
No.
We cannot, okay.
There are two people raising their hand.
Yes, Ellen and yeah, we have one from Ellen. I have my hand up and want to introduce myself. Hi, Ellen. Thank you for mentioning that. Actually, we do not have that service available. If you can please mention your question in the Q&A box here. We have one question. Is most of this ADA is just for unincorporated areas? Sally, do you have answer for that?
Could you please repeat that?
Most of this ADA is just for unincorporated areas.
Yes.
It's just the county areas. It's with Sonoma County.
Yeah, it's for the unincorporated areas only.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Or hands or anything like that?
Yeah, there's
We do not have the raise hand service available. We only have
Okay.
the Q&A box.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
And Sally, if you can click on the Q&A chat box at bottom of the screen, you can also see the questions.
Yeah. Mhm.
Here's a general question. Will the slides be available to click on the links, or will the links be dropped in the chat to access?
Neha, do you want to respond to that?
you are muted, Neha.
Denise, how would we do this?
And Neha is muted right now.
She's muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you please repeat the question one more time?
Will the slides be available so people can click on the links?
That's correct. The slides will be available also on the transition plan webpage. The very first link or the QR code, if you go to that page, they can see the slides for today's presentation on that page. Thank you.
Here's another question that's fairly general. Susan says, thank you for this presentation and for addressing these concerns. How do we know what is a city responsibility versus a county responsibility, such as a bus stop in Cloverdale or a sidewalk somewhere?
Well, my understanding, we were just working with the county. We're very careful not to do any city work. That was part of our scrupulous review of the scope. Was I heard or not?
So There is another question from Richard mentioning the QR code I opened did not provide access to it. So Richard, we are still in the meeting. Once we complete this meeting, after that it would take maybe an hour or few hours to upload on the website. So you may try it tomorrow or late tonight. Thank you.
Here's another general question. I know the transition plan is reviewing compliance. Does it have any other assessment or recommendations that go beyond compliance?
It's a good question.
I can speak for my surveys. I really don't have any method of going beyond compliance. And I think going beyond compliance might, I suppose that would be very special, and I wouldn't know who I was addressing. So that would be the only avenue for addressing beyond compliance, I think, would be with you, the public. If you had said, well, for example, if we said the reach range to light switches is, say, 48 inches for simplicity, and you said, well, I go to this place and I can't reach that. I think that would be the only way to go beyond compliance, is to put in a special request.
Thank you, Chris. Are there other questions that the team would like to address here?
Well, it seems like Richard would like to speak. Is that possible or not? Richard Scaff?
No, we have unmuted the audience, and
unmuted
if
the
they,
audience?
yes, either they can type the question here in the Q&A box, or they can provide any feedback in the feedback form we have online.
They've been raising hands as well.
We have a question. What are the next steps? Does the County Board of Supervisor need to accept and implement the plan? The very next step is after we have that feedback open for more 2 weeks. And once the 2 weeks completed, we will review all the feedback forms, and our public infrastructure team and human resources and Sally Swanson will see if there is, we need to shift any priorities on any project, or it all depends on the feedback. Once we finalize the plan, after that, we will be presenting that to the Board of Supervisor for the approval. Thank you. And that question was from Mary Flett.
Do we want to answer Ellen's question? They are in Sonoma County and want to see if they provide feedback. And I share the feedback with these vendors, serve people with disabilities. The vendors, we have had keen eyes on areas around Sonoma to make sure they were ADA safe. Yeah, how should we address that?
Yes, you can provide any feedback from the county public. And if you have any feedback from the vendors, yes, you can provide that as well.
I think also with Richard Scaff, this was the scope of work we were working on. And he's asking for the county's ADA transition and self-evaluation plan. And does that not meet the regulation requirements? Yeah, do we want to talk about that at all?
Do you want to talk about that, Sally?
Well, we haven't participated in that. I mean, are there any plans to work with the counties? ADA transition and self-evaluation plan, or? Our area was very specific. I mean, that plan was done many, many years ago.
Debbie has something to say. Thank you, Debbie.
Hi, good evening. This is Debbie Latham. I'm the Assistant County Counsel. The reason that the plan is limited to the County of Sonoma unincorporated areas is because that is the area of which the county has jurisdiction. The reason that the plan is only addressing the unincorporated areas not previously surveyed is because this is the final phase of the existing transition plan that needs to still be implemented, which is why this meeting is being held, is to seek your input and outreach on helping to prioritize how those remaining items in the existing plan are going to be implemented. If there are items that aren't in the current transition plan that are identified, those can still be raised through the county grievance process. And the county periodically does look at whether things are missing from the plan. But the focus of this meeting is specifically as to those areas in the unincorporated areas that had not previously been implemented from the existing plan, and to get those priorities. So your input would be greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Debbie.
Here's a question. What are the next steps? Does the Board of Supervisors need to accept and implement the plan?
About the next steps, I already explained. Debbie, do you want to say anything about?
No, I would just, the plan is to return to the Board of Supervisors and have them updated on the results of the recommended priorities, both from Sally Swanson and from any public input. And then the board will approve that updated plan.
There is another follow-up question. Thank you, Debbie. Is transportation part of the scope of work here? I may have missed that as part of the initial overview.
Where is this question? Nihai?
The second last.
Okay.
It is transportation part of the scope of work here?
Is transportation part of the scope of the work here? No, our work was very specific. You know, will you want to explain it, Denise? Because you put the documents together?
Yeah, we surveyed the bus stops. That's a part of transportation. That only the bus stops.
But we did sidewalks, curb cuts.
Yeah, but I mean, by
Yeah.
bus stops, curb cuts, and sidewalks and pedestrian signals for pedestrian right of way.
Ellen, Neha, would it be okay to share your contact information with our Sonoma vendors in case if they find out anything unsafe, not ADA safe? Thank you, Ellen, for the question. Yes, definitely. You can provide my contact information on this slide we have open. That's my contact information, and feel free to share.
Did we miss any?
Are there any additional questions that you'd like to answer tonight?
Could you please could you put the previous slide with the QR codes back up, please? Denise, can you please put the last slide on the screen? They want to scan the QR code, I believe. Thank you.
So in some of the comments, it appears that there is some difficulty understanding how comments can be submitted. We're not doing oral comments tonight, apparently, but comments can be submitted in writing to the ADA coordinator. So I just want to make that clear. Neha, it might be worth once again telling people when the date closes to submit comments and how they can submit the comments if they don't want to do it tonight.
Yes. So if you have any comment or any feedback related to only this transition plan, then you can either scan this QR code or the first link, which is this link, and the first link and QR code is only related to the ADA transition plan comments or feedback. The second QR code and the second link, submit feedback on 2024 transition plan, is for the feedback. The first QR code and link is to review the website about the transition plan. And the second will take you directly to the feedback form. And the third QR code and third link is if you have any comment or any new ADA request, any grievance, not related to this transition plan, but a new request or a different comment, then you can submit the third link, the form, by clicking the third link and scanning the third QR code. And that form would directly come to me. And the feedback form will be open until October 17, 2 more weeks. Thank you.
Well, how would we like to end our meeting? Yeah, what are you thinking about?
And Richard, you can email me all your comments, concerns.
Well, why don't we acknowledge Richard? He's put his heart and soul in this. Richard, we're old friends. I've known you for many, many years. And thank you, Neha. It'd be great to take all Richard's comments and respond to them. And we'd certainly help you do that.
Thank you. Can you provide the links in the chat for those who don't know how to access QR codes?
Are you talking to us, to Denise?
I'm reading a comment.
Oh, okay. I
Yes.
see. Well, I would like to respond to Richard, and we can assist you do that. Is that a positive? Yeah. He has many comments?
Yeah. Are you asking putting the link in the chat?
No, I'm just saying is that I would like to respond to Richard.
Sure,
But
sure,
we could do it at a later date. We could sit down and come up with a response.
sure. No, we
Team
will
effort, let's put it that way.
yes, we will have a conversation
It's
about
definitely a team
yes.
effort. Mhm. All right.
Okay, so this concludes our October 2024 meeting about an update on the ADA transition plan. Now, I would like to say thank you to our audience who took their time to attend this meeting. presenter Sally Swanson and her team, Public Infrastructure team, County Council, Information Technology team, Communication and Human Resources team for sharing their expertise with us today. Copies of today's slideshows, along with a video recording both in English and Spanish, will be available shortly on the ADA Transition Plan page at sonomacounty.ca.gov/EEO-ADA and on the YouTube channel. You will find a lot of information on the ADA Transition Plan webpage that can help you understand the updated ADA Transition Plan. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.